guys. Okay, let's do that again. All right, guys. This is Attorney Simone, your legal bestie. Thanks for joining us. And today we are breaking down Wendy Williams, the Wendy Williams saga between Wendy and her son.
Oh, you should be able to hear me now.
There we go. Okay, between Wendy and her son. There was a bombshell. Wendy has done an interview with TMZ. And in that interview, she stated that that the reason she's in this guardianship is all her son's fault. That her son mismanaged hundreds of thousands of dollars of her money, and we're going to get into it. So let us know where you're watching from, and remember, and let's hop over. I'm going to play a clip from TMZ. Y'all got it, y'all. This is so sad. This is so sad.
What your life has been like over the past year. What is it like?
Isolated. Where I am is this place where the people are older. You know what I'm saying? They are in their 90s and their 80s. I eat lunch and dinner in my bedroom. I don't eat out there with the people that live here just because it's so goddamn depressing. There's a bathroom, there's a closet, and the TV, which was purchased by me through the Guardian person.
Are you allowed to go out?
No. Now,
hold on. This was a clip. I'm going to hit refresh. That was a clip from where she was. This was actually an older clip where she was talking about, here we go. She was talking about her conditions in the guardianship. But there's a new clip. Here we go. We might have to sit through a stupid commercial. This is the updated tea that I need you guys to hear. Yeah, we got to sit through this little commercial. Okay, as the stupid commercial is playing. Now, I told you guys from the beginning, everyone was like, Wells Fargo is so terrible. Don't get me wrong. Wells Fargo is trifling. They have done a lot of trifling things to people of color, poor people who weren't realizing the fees that were being charged. They've gotten in big trouble for those things. But I've always said, with respect to Wendy Williams, that they did what they were supposed to do. Here we go.
Talking with Wendy Williams for hours on end. This woman is being treated, in my opinion, like a criminal.
Get to it.
She obviously, when you're talking to her, she is rational. She is responding.
She's fine.
If you're charged in a criminal case and
We'll
you
talk
can
about
be
whether
free to
she's
sit
fine.
at your house
We're gonna talk
and
about
be
that.
tested for alcohol consumption regularly and intermittently, why can't you, who is not charged with a crime, be released to your house?
Because it's about my money. It's about holding my money and using it for other people and nothing for me. You know, it's about paying for this, paying for that. Oh my gosh, you need an attorney, you need a lawyer, you need this, you need that. It's all my money that other people are taking my money from.
Can you talk to me about
Listen to this
how
part, y'all.
Wendy ended up in a guardianship?
My understanding is somebody was in her bank account that Wells Fargo flagged, and there was large withdrawals
I
being
told y'all
taken
who
out.
it was.
My son, he overstepped his boundaries in terms of me. You understand? He overstepped his boundaries, and he was inappropriately using my money without telling me crap about it. Like, is he stealing from me? Look, all I know is that in terms of what I'm dealing with, and that this is still going on, because, that's when my money got frozen at Wells Fargo. Thank God. No more money stealing from my son and the other people.
Wells
And the other
Fargo,
people. Listen to
your
this.
bank, said you were the victim of undue influence
Yes.
and financial exploitation with respect to your money. Who was unduly influencing you? Who is the person that was doing this?
Thank you. Listen, my son is a really good person. You know what? Oh, God, I'm not going to cry about that. Oh, I'm sorry for cursing. Look, my son is a good person, but at this point, he is a horrible person to me. You know what I'm saying? It's the way he moves with other people.
Pay attention to her wording.
And what's going on with these other people at my apartment in Miami? What are you doing? Oh, you spent on what? And what is going on at Wells Fargo?
There was a situation where Kevin says he wanted to rent a boat for his birthday for $1,500.
You really can't rent no boat
and
for $1,500.
ended up getting a boat that rented out for $113,000. And he blamed it on the bank, that the bank wanted him to have that. That never really made sense to me.
Normie, you know what I'm saying?
Remember that?
He has a way of getting with, you know, a couple of other people. You know what I'm saying? My son is not the only one, you know what I'm saying, involved with my money. You know what I'm saying?
In September, we know the judge said this in court.
Listen to
While
this.
Mr. Hunter, that's the son, Kevin, apologized for past mistakes and inappropriate behavior, the court is not convinced that he can keep her safe and wouldn't willingly or unwittingly expose her to financial exploitation.
That's
Does
right.
that resonate with
Little
you?
Kevin, not big
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes. Yes.
Kevin has denied any impropriety when it came to Wendy's finances, and also that he cannot speak on camera because he's not allowed to per the judge.
So you're actually able to go to Miami this week. The judge actually did concede that, and you're going to be able to go for your dad's.
But let's be real here. That young man was 19 years old. 19 years old. I said before, he had no business being that lady's guardian. He could not even get licensed, bonded, or insured because he had such minimal experience managing that kind of money. Prior to that year, he was 18. He was living in his parents' house. He hadn't even really gone off and done a full year of college paying his own bills, more or less trying to pay your mama's bills. I mean, those are just unrealistic expectations. And then what happened? A large part of what happened too, was that, so these things are happening at Wells Fargo. When Wells Fargo sees this kind of stuff happening, if they don't notify a court of law and say, hey, we think she needs a guardianship, then they are responsible for refunding every single crazy transaction that goes through. So to prevent themselves from being on the hook for that, that is why they had to go to court over this. Yeah, MD said 19 in Miami. Samuel said a number of people should be arrested in jails. Suddenly has to take care of his addicted mom, parents going through a nasty divorce, all that. And mind you, remember, the mom's money is also where the dad's paycheck was coming from. So it's not like he could rely on his dad for, you know, what wasn't coming through via the mom. The other thing that's important to note is I've said this before. This for her could have all been prevented if she had a power of attorney in place before she got sick, before any of these signs were noticed. The problem was Wells Fargo noticed that there was some unusual things happening on the account. Well, she comes down there with a power of attorney. Who does she name as the power of attorney? Her son, the very person they are seeking to protect her from. So yes, that's exactly how this type of guardianship, hit the like button. That's exactly how this type of guardianship can happen. You have to have your power of attorney in place before. And there's two different kinds you can have. You can have one form, there's durable and non-durable. One that once it's signed, it's there for life or until you revoke it. Then there's a different one that only comes into play if you've been determined to be incapacitated, which is what they determined here with Wendy. So in other words, if you don't want to give your mom, your granny, your sister, whoever, the right to fiddle along in your bank account right now, that's okay. You don't have to. There's a separate type of power of attorney that would only take place if you got into a situation like Wendy is in. So if she had her sister, Wanda, as her power of attorney, Wanda is the attorney, her sister who's been a lawyer for like 30 years, this would have been prevented. But it's now been revealed, and it was discussed in the documentary, she did not want Wanda as her power of attorney or guardian because Wanda specifically said she would not let her drink. And at the time, Wendy was in the throngs of her addiction. Hit that like button as you come on in this chat. Hit that like. I want to also discuss where we are at the lawsuit, as well as the $30 million lawsuit that Wendy's guardian is now facing. And here we go. Before I do, I want to just remind you guys, you can always go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com, to book a consultation with me. I assist with legal matters across the nation. If you schedule with me and it ends up being something I can't help you with, I will happily refund the money. But you just click here, book or hire Simone. You get on my calendar, you pick a session here, and it starts at only $149. You can also get my ebook, which is Background Checks 101, Beginner's Guide to Discovering Who the Heck You're Really Dealing With. Once you purchase it, the thank you page redirects you to a link that populates the book, and then you download it right there. So that's that. But Wendy, drop your questions in the chat that you have regarding this Wendy saga. I'm going to do my best to answer as many of them as possible. So many were saying, no, previously I reported that I had not discovered anything criminal against Sandra Morrissey, her guardian. So I did a criminal search. Now I did as well a search of just court cases involving her. And I want to tell you a little bit about this guardianship suit that has now been dismissed, but it's been dismissed without prejudice. So if the family chooses to, they can bring it back. But I want to get your thoughts in the chat. Should this lawsuit that was filed, it was filed back in, I believe, 2022 or 23. Should this lawsuit, yes, should that lawsuit prevent the current guardian from serving as a guardian? Now, the gist of what is being claimed is that a gentleman, last name Verdugo. Mr. Verdugo was in a very severe accident, a personal injury accident. I believe it was a construction site accident, and was awarded $5 million. What happened is his law firm at the time, which was Floman Haft was what it was called. The Floman Haft personal injury law firm. It was alleged that someone from that firm went to him, lied, and basically said, hey, your case to get you this $5 million can't be finalized unless you consent to a guardianship. And it was a guardianship he did not want and he did not need. It was a total lie. But they got him to execute whatever paperwork. And I'll tell you this, as a personal injury attorney myself, when you've got $5 million that's been settled, and it's just a matter of, okay, you got to sign the paperwork to get your check, people are going to sign about anything, not necessarily understanding. So what happened is that document entered him into a guardianship. So the allegation is that that law firm, Floman Haft, as well as the Morrissey law firm, that they conspired together to basically exploit his lawsuit winning. So after lawyers' fees of the $5 million, his portion of that lawsuit was about, I think it was like $2.5 million. But that Morrissey filed different lawsuits and so forth that was supposed to be on behalf, or that were on behalf of Verdugo. She actually filed them against the law firm that got him the settlement, and was litigating and spent over $1.1 million throughout that litigation, as well as the litigation stating, yes, in fact, this man needs a guardianship. Now, this went on, y'all, for a decade. And specifically for 5 of the years, so only half of the time, was Sabrina Morrissey the guardian. So what's important to note, when this all started, Sabrina was not the guardian. For the first 5 years of it, it was someone else. And ultimately, the result of this lawsuit is that the plaintiff side dismissed it, meaning the alleged victim dismissed it with the right to bring it back later. And they dismissed it before Miss Morrissey even responded to the lawsuit. So they dismissed it very, very early on. Here's what that could mean. It could mean that for the law firm that was at issue, that were they claiming that law firm did stuff they weren't supposed to, it could mean that that law firm's insurance policy settled the case and wrapped it on up. It could mean that they, dismissed the case because they found that that Sabrina hadn't done anything wrong. So I just say that to say it hasn't been determined one way or the other. But what we do know is she was sued for $30 million. I'm sorry. She was sued for mismanaging. Yes, I think that's what it was. For an unwanted conservatorship is what they would consider this. And ultimately it was dismissed against her. So it doesn't mean she's guilty, and it doesn't mean she's innocent. But most importantly, the allegation was that the family of Mr. Verdugo had been trying to get him out of the conservatorship since 2021. So this was around the time in 22 is when she was appointed to be guardian for Wendy. I personally think as a judge, there are tons of guardians to pick from. Why the hell would you pick one embroiled in a $30 million lawsuit if you were aware of all this? And I certainly hope that Wendy's family points to this lawsuit and any others as a way to say why they feel, what the hell is wrong with my computer? Of why they feel that this isn't fair and that this person should, there we go, sorry, that this person should not be the guardian. Hold on a second. Got you. Now, I also, let me come back over here. Here we go. Let me look at the comments real quick. It does not look good. But I also want to give you an update on Wendy's case. So now where we're at, under the law, so under the guardianship law of New York State, the need for a guardianship is supposed to be revisited over time, like consistently over time. Not every year, but on an as-needed basis. And one of the allegations in the other lawsuit against Ms. Morrissey, was that they were not properly evaluating the need of whether or not the guardianship was still necessary. They were not doing it frequently as they were supposed to under the law. Now, with Wendy's, a big win that she received is that the guardian has stated to the court that basically she is consenting to a new evaluation to take place for Wendy so that they could determine, does she actually have this frontal lobe dementia? And y'all, I did a deep dive into this dementia. I'm going to play a video for you guys. I want you to listen to this particular example of someone that's suffering from it. And I have to tell you, it sounds very similar to some of Wendy's behaviors. Now, with one of the weird things about this form of dementia is it hits younger people. On average, people are diagnosed with, it's called frontal temporal dementia. They're diagnosed with that between age 40 and 65. In Wendy's case, it is believed that her dementia is alcohol induced. Now, I want to clarify. I researched this. There's a big difference between alcohol-induced dementia does not mean, once I stop drinking alcohol, the dementia goes away. No. It slows down the effects, but it never goes away. Once dementia starts, it doesn't go away. There is no cure for frontal temporal lobe dementia if that's what she has. And it can be caused by drinking. Because it's all about when that frontal lobe gets damaged. Now, what I was particularly surprised to learn is that, number one, it hits people that are between generally 45 to 60, but can hit you young, like in the teens. And then what it looks like when someone has it. So let me go to that clip. And I want to hear your thoughts after we listen to this description of both the form of dementia as well as watch this clip of someone who's suffering from
one form of the disease that can strike people when they are very young, in their 20s or even their teens. It's called frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. And while rare, it devastates lives by rapidly turning young, vital people into those who need constant care. More from Mayo Clinic.
And we were seeing our son disappear
Look how
before our
young.
eyes, little bit by
Look how
little bit.
young he is.
Sue and Bill Bishop are watching a disease called frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, consume their son Brad. The brain disorder with no cure is changing him from a caring young man with a bright future into a person whose behavior is erratic, childlike, and at times inappropriate.
Watch this.
Who is it?
I don't know. Let's check.
Who is it?
I'll have to see who's calling.
Who is it?
It's not Brad. It's Brad's body. Of course, even that's different.
Brad's first symptoms were subtle personality changes. He'd forget to return phone calls and emails. He'd act childlike in public, and he grew self-centered, a trait his parents say was completely out of character. And as the disease progressed, symptoms got much worse. Brad became agitated around people, and he couldn't control the urge to eat.
So we literally had to put locks around the fridge and
That can
freezer.
also lead to
For
an
more than a
urge to
year,
drink.
doctors did not know why this was happening.
When we were told that there was something rapidly, progressively attacking your son's brain, and we don't know what it is, I lost it.
Just gonna check your reflexes here.
Then
Y'all, this made me think about how mean Wendy would be sometimes in the documentary. Y'all remember how she, like, it was her niece that came to visit her after a little while. The niece came to visit her and she told her, "Oh, you look fat." She was like, but she was having a totally normal conversation. She was like, "Oh, how are you doing today? Da, 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 da. You look very fat today." And the niece was like, "Do I?" And then she just went on to talking like normal. Yes, in this example, you're saying lock the fridge. Yeah, in this example, I give the example of, I've also talked about I have an aunt who had Alzheimer's, and my grandparents were taking care of my aunt, and so they had to put a lock on the outside of her bedroom, but they cut the door in half so you could open up the top so she could say, "Hey, I want to come out," or whatever, but they actually had to lock her in the room to prevent her from leaving the house. Yeah, Abita Shit said Wendy was very mean and surly. And the thing is, she's always been sassy in life. She was absolutely sassy in life. But one of the things that it does, is that it totally takes over your ability to like control some of the mean things that you do or don't want to say. And as you listen to her interviews, they kind of wind in and out. Now, the Wendy interview with TMZ, that I played a clip of, towards the end of it, she starts with blaming her son. And then towards the end, she's like, "Well, it wasn't his fault." Those are some of the signs. We don't want to hear it. Those are some of the signs. But here's the thing. This video, what I love about this video, if I represented the family of Wendy, I'd take this video and I'd play it in court. Because you know what we do see throughout that video? Brad is with his family. Brad is at his mama and daddy's house. This whole thing is about how they're taking care of Brad. You saw Brad eating cereal, hollering at people at the house. Yet and still, he is still with his family. That's what Wendy wants. And so long as there are relatives who appear to be capable, why not give him a try? I'm not talking about the son now. At this point, what Wendy done said about the son, it supports the financial guardianship for sure. Because remember, there are two types of guardianships: guardianship of the person and guardianship of the funds. There is no reason there can't be a continue or have someone who is a guardian of the funds and let her family, a family member, be the guardian of her person. That's what you do for rich people. Yeah, give her an allowance, send her home with him. Yeah, you can tell the family, like, this is the budget. If you want to have a home care provider, this is what, can you work this in the budget? Whether that means someone's going to have to work from home or whatever. Now Wendy's me. So it might mean getting Wendy an apartment back home in Florida. I call Florida her home now since that's where her family is and where she would like to be. But yeah, look, I know little Kev is somebody over somewhere crying. Because she done said all that stuff about little Kev, as you saw in the video. Then she gonna say, Oh, well, we're going to have lunch. We're going to have dinner together. We're going to get together in California because he knows I love him. I'm sure that he does know that you love him. I'm going to let her speak.
94th birthday. It's
Yep.
almost the first taste of freedom in a long, long time for you, for even though it's just a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, there are constraints that I am going to tell, when I'm in Miami, but I don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? I just want things to go so good, and I'll be, by the way, doing a little shopping for me and my dad while I'm in Miami.
So, I do have a question about that. I know you love your son, and I know there have been issues. Is Kevin going to be there as far as you know?
Yeah, he'll be there. I will see him at a particular place, particular location. Me and my son, yes, I will.
Have you been
I don't
talking?
want to say too much.
Have you been talking to him? Because obviously he's involved in all of this.
Yes, listen. I don't want to talk about my son. You know what I'm saying? Like my son is my son.
I give you a lot of props. I thought you parsed out as diplomatically as possible the fact that look,
She sure
you're
doesn't,
his
Nisha.
mother. You're not going to denigrate the guy. He's your son. You love him to death. And how does loving your son and forgiving your son translate into being in your own personal kind of jail, so to speak?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. No, we ain't. Hold on. We don't want to see. No.
So since
Wait. Here we go. Right. There we go. Okay. That was a great point. Hold on. One of you guys just made a great point. Nisha, she told the truth about her son because she's sober. She doesn't have the niece there playing defense, answering the questions. You'll notice there's a huge difference in how she carries on the one way or the other. But also, Tiffany said, Wendy has impulse control issues. If I was little Kev, I'd keep my distance and focus on my future. The impulse control issues could be a result of the form of dementia that we're talking about. Now, again, Wendy says, I'm not incapacitated from dementia. But the Guardian has actually requested a new medical evaluation. That's perfect. Because that's going to let everyone know, is this really the case? Because again, some people really don't believe it. And the prior evaluation, it is a bit complex because this is an extremely rare disease. At the end of the day, if it says no, she's fine, then they can proceed that way. But even if it says, I believe it's going to say it's some form of dementia. Maybe it's not frontal temporal. Maybe it'll be some other form, but I believe it will be some form of dementia because of the personality changes. Even in that conversation, she had difficulty kind of staying with it. She would repeat herself a few times, or she would just randomly include facts that weren't relevant. Like they were talking about something or another. She's like, and I'm going to take my dad shopping. Girl, with what? You said you ain't got no money. You keep telling us how you only have $15 in the bank. What you going to buy your daddy? Something from the Dollar Tree? So it's like she has these moments where she wants to have us feel like she's okay. But then she'll have these other moments where she says things that are not necessarily logical or consistent with her prior statements, sometimes that she's made in the same conversation. Desiree said they need to have an outside financial advisor be the manager of her money and then hire a caregiver. But yes, so with the caregiver, Forever D has it right. They tried that, guys. They tried it. She was mean. She would kick out her caregivers. She was getting liquor. She was bullying. Wendy is a bully. So I almost feel like the caregiver needs to be a relative, or a relative hires the caregiver and the relative will oversee that caregiver to ensure the caregiver is following the rules. Because Wendy's a bully. She's used to getting, to having staff, having support staff, and people doing as instructed by Wendy. And that's understandable. She had the money to do so. Why wasn't a trust fund set up for Kevin? I don't know. He was only 19. Well, I think it wasn't set up because Wendy was in denial. Number one, She probably thought she had time. I'm here. I can give him what does he need a trust fund for? I'll cut the check. She had him in $100,000 a year Miami apartment. She was paying all of those bills. So Joyous Girl said she actually jumped around in conversation on the show, and that's part of her personality. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. People who know her say this is the real Wendy. Her conversation has always been all over the place. Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. But I think we're all going to be very curious about the results of the new medical diagnosis. But also, I hope that the family uses the GoFundMe, at least a portion of it can use that to try and say, all right, so even if she's found to have dementia, why can't one of us be her guardian? Court, tell us, what is the criteria? That's the thing. Before you say I could do it, you need to find out the criteria. Otherwise, courts will move the field goal post. So maybe you got everything together, but they'll say, oh, you're not licensed and bonded. Well, you should have told me that. I could have come to court with licensing and bonding. So it's all a process, but the main thing is that it was very clear for Wendy's interview that she is now acknowledging the reason for her guardianship was the spending from her son. We heard from TMZ, there was an example of him asking his mom, could he get a boat that's $1,500 for his birthday, but in fact spent $113,000 and blamed the miscalculation on the bank. Said, well, the bank gave you the money. And I could see him doing that. Wendy calling and cussing out the bank. And then the bank using that to be like, oh, hell no. Can't you see that? That is how this guardianship got set up. Because Wendy called up there, cussing out Wells Fargo, talk about y'all made a mistake. Y'all charged it was my son's birthday. It was his 19th birthday. And the boat was only supposed to be $1,500. And you guys charged $113. Let me tell you, if I'm the banker, if I'm her personal banker at Wells Fargo, and she's talking about I made a mistake, $100,000 mistake. Ma'am, no, I didn't. But let me tell you who's stealing from you. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to put it in writing. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to notarize it. And then we're going to tell the court. So how about that? How about that? Then now you in the court and your son can argue over this because you're not about to get me fired for doing my job. No, ma'am, no, sir. No, ma'am, no, sir. What happens when she runs out of money? Does she become a ward of the state? It's my understanding that that is correct. Not a ward of the state, but that a state-appointed guardian will be put in place. That is my understanding. So because everybody in the house is lying to everybody else. Yep, that's exactly what they do. If you are, Wendy likes to cuss people out. You know she does. You know when that son came to her talking about, oh, mom, it wasn't my fault. It was a mistake. Wendy probably lit all those people a new butthole. And old Kevin probably thought he was going to get away with it and be just fine. Nope. He opened up a whole can of worms. Because whoever that lady was who got cussed out on the phone and accused of incorrectly authorizing $100,000 for that boat instead of the $1,500, she was like, oh no, somebody's over here lying. And what you're not about to do is take my job with my good benefits when I'm about to be fully vested with stock options. And I'm trying to get the hell out of here 20 years. She's been there for like over a decade. I don't blame her, girl. Don't mess up that good 401k. Abida, she said, it's wild this can happen to wealthy, well-connected public figures. And then it could happen to anybody. It really could. Yes, Marriott, his spending got her account flagged. And it was multiple things. So in the clip that we just heard from TMZ, Harvey Lewin read from some court documents talking about how one of the things that alerted Wells Fargo to the fact that there were some probably unpermissible transactions or transactions that were showing that she was being taken advantage of, or that her son spent $113,000 on a boat ride for his birthday. One day. $113,000. He was only supposed to spend $1,500. Let's not forget his Uber bill, his Uber Eats bill of over $100,000. When asked to him whether he thought that was fair or right, he said, well, my mom, and most of the food was from my mom. It was food that she wanted. That doesn't help you become the guardian, because initially he did try to apply to be the guardian. But when you say things like, oh, well, I spent $100,000 on Uber Eats because that's what she wanted, the court's going to say, well, you ain't got good sense. No, you cannot be a guardian. A guardian needs to be able to tell you no. That's all Sabrina Morrissey's been running around doing. Nope. You can't. No, you can't stay at your house. No, you can't be in an apartment. Yes, you need to be over here. Of course, yes, I agree. Who said? Death God said they're evil. They very might be, but facts specifically in this situation. Oh, and Wendy said herself in the interview. She said, oh, yes, Wells Fargo, they did that. So thank God other people can't take advantage of my money. Yes, that's what they're doing. That's what they're supposed to do. That is what they were supposed to do. Yeah. You have to be able to set firm boundaries with your charge. You can't even professionally sit for that patient. That makes sense. Yeah. And the whole time, I thought Big Kevin was a ringleader of the conservative mess. I did too. Or I thought that Big Kev was having Little Kev move money and make the money moves that he wanted. Now that actually could still be true, because I was told by a reliable source that it was Little Kev who kept going in the bank with her. But he was like in control of the movements. Sorry, I got these fake eyelashes on. They're doing weird things. So Little Kevin was going in and like, hey, move 100,000 over here or this or that. But also remember, your personal banker can see all of your transactions, anything that's done with your card. Yep, Tiffany said, I think Big Kev's involved. I believe Big Kev was influencing some of Little Kev's steps. Because remember, this whole time, Big Kev was getting his monthly alimony, whatever support. I think it was like $20,000 a month. He was getting his alimony / his like salary, whatever it was required through the divorce. She did say they were taking my money. Good point. So it very likely could have been both the ex-husband and the son. It says husband, son, and brother were bleeding her. I hope her niece and aunts are genuine. For Wells Fargo to give him that money without wincing speaks volumes between senior and junior. No, they winced. That's how the guardianship was created. Wells Fargo didn't just give him the money. So what happens is, if you're charging certain things on your card, your personal banker doesn't see that until they actually pull your charges. No, they saw it, and that's why they created the guardianship. That's why they petitioned. That's why they froze her accounts to prevent any more of those kind of transactions, and then petition the court to evaluate whether or not there needed to be a guardianship. All they said to the court is, we think this person, this client of ours, is being taken advantage of, but court, we're going to leave it to you to determine if they need a guardian. And Wells Fargo did not select the guardian. Sabrina Morrissey, they don't select that. The judge appoints a guardian, because I've been a guardian before. I'm a guardian. I serve as a guardian in personal injury cases for children to make sure that their money is being protected, to make sure that it gets put into something like a trust fund, depending on how much. And also to make sure that what's called reductions, which is when you call up the doctor and say, hey, I know your initial medical bill was $10,000, but could you take $3,000? I make sure those were done properly. Hit that like. Star said, yeah, I believe Big Kev got Little Kev moving money. Yep. Nisha said Sabrina probably put her in memory care, because look how she was acting when she was in an apartment with enablers and allowing her to get in enablers left and right, allowing her to get drunk and traipse around New York acting a devil. Let me clarify this. Here is how Wendy ended up in memory care. This is very important to the discussion. First, Wendy was sent to rehab. When she was living at home, she was drinking, she was an alcoholic, she was going to kill herself at that, oh gosh, I don't mess up this, at the rate that she was going with alcohol. So they sent her to rehab. When you finish rehab, where do you go? you go to an outpatient facility or an inpatient facility. Frequently, you do 90 days in a sober house, sober living, something like that. It's transitional housing to help you get used to your sober life, but without all the freedoms that you have in your apartment. So more than likely what happened is, in whatever that sober living style of living that she had was, they were seeing that she was exhibiting more of the dementia signs, and figured that, hey, rather than this sober living house, she needs a memory care unit, because your memory care unit is going to give you exercises. It's going to give you medication. It's going to literally give you mental exercises to help slow what goes on with your brain. But also, due to the fact that you'll wander off and do all kinds of things, they do have to keep you locked in there. They do have to control your cell phone and other things. All right. Forever D said, I want to see some receipts, because he didn't spend the full 100K on a boat. From what I'm hearing here, wouldn't be surprised if he was still being manipulated by his father to help him in his debts. Absolutely. If he still speaks to his father, I guarantee you that man's getting money. Because Kevin Sr. does not seem like the type where he'd be like, it's okay, son, I won't put you in the middle of it. No, he's going to be like, your mama steal it from me. Your mama is trying to ruin me. Your mama. Son, if you love me, do what's right. Go on down there to the bank. That's the kind of daddy he strikes me as. He ain't one of those, oh, no, I don't want to put you in the middle of it. This is grown folks' bit. Please. Yes, Senior was pimping his mama for years. So you think he won't pimp his son? Yeah, Forever D is cooking. Forever D is cooking. Yeah, absolutely. We want to see some receipts. Well, guys, this is a summary of the Wendy Williams drama. The gist of it is, she has now acknowledged that it was her son, his spending habits, that caused her to get the guardianship in the first place. When Wells Fargo became alarmed at the spending, she then said, oh, well, I'll just use this power of attorney. Then he can continue to spend as he wants. Wells Fargo said, hail to the no. A power of attorney is not effective if you don't present it until after it's been determined that you're not okay. You have to present it beforehand. And even then, if it's someone like a 19-year-old managing a $10+ million estate and they feel like he is exploiting you, they're going to do what is the right thing, which is notify the authorities. Remember, this all just started financial. They notified the authorities when they saw she was being financially taken advantage of, and Wendy has acknowledged that. What's gone awry is the extent to which her personal life is being controlled. And they're using the rationale of her form of dementia, frontal temporal dementia. And if you roll the video back, you'll see clips of that. But that is largely why the Guardian is claiming that the restrictions need to be as they are. However, they have ruled that Wendy should be entitled to a new determination. So we look forward to seeing how that works. So stay tuned. Hit that like button. Don't forget to go to SimoneRedwine.com if you'd like to schedule a consultation or to get my ebook, Background Checks 101, the beginner's guide to finding out who the heck you're really dealing with, for only $19.99. Thanks, guys. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone.